After setting your hanging herb garden upside down on a stable work table or bench top, the first step is going to be cutting slots for the main irrigation line in the bottom 3 rails. Here I'm using a strip of 3/4 inch thick wood as a kind of guide so I can mark 2 spots on the rail I'm going to cut. And now I'm using a small Japanese style saw to cut away the wood. And now I just use a small scrap of plywood and a hammer to knock the piece out. I'll repeat this process on the other 2 rails. The main irrigation line is 1/2 inch tubing, and I've cut a piece here that's about 3.5 feet long. It's long enough to reach from the top to a little past the bottom of the hanging garden. Now I'm going to use a special hose clamp to seal off the top end of the main irrigation line. And you thread through one side and bend the pipe and down the other, and this seals it off completely. That's going to go at the top. And at the bottom, I'm going to add a fitting that is threaded and can receive a regular garden hose. And this is a push-on style fitting. Takes a bit of force, but a little twisting action helps putting the thing on securely. Now we're ready to secure the main irrigation line to the back of the hanging garden using some hose clips made specifically for the 1/2 inch tubing. I'm just going to add a few of these in several spots along the length of the tube to firmly hold it in place. Once that's done, I'm going to use a special drip irrigation punch tool to make holes in the main irrigation line for connecting 1/4 inch lateral lines that are going to feed our individual drippers. Now into each of these holes I'm going to place a special barbed connector that is specifically made for transitioning from the main irrigation line, which is 1/2 inch, to 1/4 inch lateral lines. I just use a pair of pliers to push it in. It kind of clicks when it's in place. I'm going to go ahead and add these in all the spots that are necessary. Now I'm going to cut the 1/4 inch tubing to approximate length. Of course, just make it longer than you think you need it because you're going to trim it later. Now to make it easier to attach the 1/4 inch hose to the barbed connectors, just basically hold the end in a hot cup of water for a few seconds, and then it softens the tubing material so you can push it on more easily onto the connectors. Makes a nice snug fit. Just make sure and push the tube all the way onto the connector like this. Now I'm going to drill some centered holes through the back of the rails that are going to allow us to feed our drippers from the supply lines. And I'm using here a 9/32 inch drill bit, and I'm going to put a block on the other side so that it doesn't split out the wood on the bottom part of the hole. And I'll go ahead and do this one hole for each planter box. Now we're going to use an elbow fitting and about a 2 or 2.5 inch length of the 1/4 inch tubing to feed our dripper. And you can eyeball this, but here I'm marking the length that I need for the supply hose with a piece of tape, so I know exactly where to cut it. I'm using a pair of shears here, but you can use scissors or a utility knife. I'm peeling off the tape, and once again our tubing goes into our hot water to soften it up to make it easier to press onto the elbow connector. And of course, once again, I'm going to do this for all 7 planter boxes. Once all the supply lines are completed, then you can use these little 1/4-inch hose clamps to help keep them from flopping around and secure them in place. Really easy. Now with the hanging garden front side up on the bench top, I'm ready to install my 1/2 gallon per hour pressure compensating drippers. Now then, I'm going to go ahead first and trim each of these short drip supply lines about 3/4 to an inch sticking out from the front of the rail. And now, since I can't easily use my hot water to soften the tubing, I'm going to use a heat gun on a low setting. And I'm just going to dance it around the end. I don't want to get it too hot, just hot enough to make it easier to press the drippers in place. And these go on just like the elbows and barb connectors and so on. A little bit of force and sometimes a little twisting action will get them fully installed. And there you are. And you repeat this on all 7 planter boxes. To make watering my hanging garden truly worry-free, I'm installing an automatic drip system timer that screws on to the end of an outdoor faucet. And now I'm attaching the supply line to the outfeed part of the timer. This unit has 3 dials, one for the frequency, one for the run time, and another for either manual watering or for dialing in amount of rain delay. The other end of the supply hose goes to the fitting at the bottom of the hanging garden that we installed earlier. Just screws in place. Now I'm going to turn on the timer manually so that I can check to make sure that all the drippers are operating properly. Before planting your garden boxes, it's important to put a couple of scoops full of gravel in the bottom to allow better drainage. Now you're ready to fill the garden boxes with some good quality potting soil and plant your herbs in place. In this case, a friend of mine helped me do the planting, and she suggested that we add some nice flowers, which also happen to be edible, to the garden to make it even more colorful and fun.